Hello, fellow mompreneurs. Welcome to the Real Moms Podcast, the go-to space for resilient entrepreneurs who are striving for abundant living. I'm your host, Shae Spitz, a mompreneur and a realtor here in Columbus, Nebraska. Are you a mom juggling the hustle of entrepreneurship, family life, and personal growth? Well, you're in the right place. On this podcast, we dive deep into the real, unfiltered stories of incredible women who are navigating the journey of mompreneurship. We'll celebrate the victories, share practical insights, and acknowledge that it's okay to face challenges along the way. Success isn't about the destination. It's about the journey and the growth we experience as we balance our careers and the chaos of family life. Whether you're a seasoned mompreneur or just starting on this exciting path, join me and our amazing guests as we explore what it truly means to be a resilient entrepreneur striving for abundant living. Get ready for real, raw, and remarkable conversations that will inspire and uplift you. Because here at the Real Moms Podcast, we believe in the power of community, authenticity, and the strength that comes from embracing the journey together. So grab your coffee, find a cozy spot, and let's dive into the world of mompreneurship. This is the Real Moms Podcast, where we celebrate the hustle, honor the struggle, and thrive as resilient entrepreneurs living abundantly. Welcome to Real Moms, where resilient entrepreneurs create abundant lives for themselves and their families. Before we jump into today's conversation, I'd love your support. If you're inspired by what you hear today, hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, and share this episode with another mom who's building her business and her dreams. Your reviews and shares help us spread the message that moms can truly have both success in business and abundance at home. So let's dive in. Today, I like to start every quote, or my goodness, I like to start every podcast off with a motivational quote. And today's quote is, "Intention means every decision, from the most obviously significant to the seemingly mundane matters." Today, we have Kristi Jenkins. She is a managing broker with over 2 decades of experience guiding families through life's biggest moves. From first homes to waterfront estates across the beautiful estate sides and Seattle areas. Kristi isn't just about transactions. She's your realtor for life, bringing sharp negotiation skills, strategic marketing, and heartfelt community connections to every deal. When not busy matching people with their dream homes, you'll find her boating through the San Juan Islands, crafting charcuterie boards with her husband of 25 years, or supporting causes that matter deep to her, like Olive Crest and the free wheelchair mission. So thank you, Kristi, for being here. I stumbled over my words there at the beginning, but that's life, right?
You read your bio and it sounds great, and then you hear it and you go, oh, is it that long? Do I need to start evaluating?
Actually, no, it's not that long. It really
Okay.
isn't. Some people have had a page. I'm like, ooh, can we shorten that? Because
Oh my goodness. Okay. All
my
right.
English is not the best. But so thank you so much for
Yes.
being here. And
Thank you for
tell me a
having
little
me.
bit about what got you into real estate and why.
Yeah. It's such an interesting question, because my journey has changed. My motivation, my style, like everything has changed so much in the last 22 years. Because when I started this, I had 2 young kids. I actually had one on the way, and I had a little one. I was working in corporate America in a marketing position in a gaming company, and I just felt like I could still contribute, but be the kind of present mom that I wanted to be too. And I just felt like I wasn't able to do that in a corporate job. And I knew I wanted to continue working. I'd gone to college. I had really high aspirations of contributing to our family's income. And my husband worked full time. He was building a business too. But I just felt like being separate from my kids during these really formative years was not the legacy I wanted to leave for them. That's not how I wanted them to grow up. I wanted to be a present parent, and I was really struggling with how I would do that and still contribute financially. And my mom had recently, she had an in-home daycare for all of our growing up years. And so I grew up with tons of kids in our house, and that was how she made it work. She was a pastor's wife, and that was how she made it work income wise. And she had recently left daycare after getting burnt out over 20 years and had started in real estate. And she had done really well. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to come alongside of her. And we teamed up for many of those early years. We were a mother-daughter team, and we didn't try to grow the business to this empire. We really were trying to build a team that we could support each other and be there for each other and do part-time incomes. That was really, it wasn't we didn't have these high aspirations. We just wanted to support each other, do something we loved together, be able to watch my kids at different times. And so it really, for a lot of years, that was how we made things work. And of course, real estate was very different back then. We had Thomas guides and faxes, and everything was handwritten, and it certainly wasn't the kind of real estate we're doing today. So I get asked the question a lot of times, if you had to do it all over again, what would you do differently? It's hard to even think about that
Yeah.
because it's such a different job. It's such a different industry
Yeah.
than it was. But we definitely grew up very organically. It was built because of a heart for serving people,
Mm-hmm.
for really wanting to make this experience better. A lot of our original clients were from the church and from groups that we were in surrounding our involvement with the church. And then it just grew on a very organic grassroots referral basis from there. And that my mom retired back in 2017. And I took the business in a little bit different direction and grew it because I just knew I had the time and the energy as my kids got older to do that.
Your story kind of seems like a lot like mine, where you want to do something better. You want to change the industry in a sense, because I feel like when I got into the industry, which wasn't until 2018, so really not that long ago in all reality.
Yeah.
I grew up, as I told you prior, that I grew up in a very small town. I'm not from real estate at all. All of my
Yeah.
family owns their own property. But when I say they own their own property, like they've owned their own property for the last 60 some years. My
Yeah.
grandparents, both sides, have celebrated like 65, 70 years in their
Oh my
home. So like
gosh.
when I got into real estate, I had no idea how much people actually move. So when I heard the average was like 5 to 7 years, I'm like, my family's going strong on 35 on average.
Yeah,
So
we are
it
not
was
the
it was
norm.
pretty.
Yeah.
No, it's not the norm. It is not the norm at all. So how was it like? Because yeah, like you said, real estate is a completely different journey. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and people always ask, is there anything that you would do differently? And honestly, like, we can say that. We could say, yeah, I wish I would have started. One of the things that I said was delegating sooner. But I don't think I was ready to
Yeah.
start delegating at that time. You know what I mean? And I
Yeah.
truly believe like you are where you're at in the right time. And that was
Yeah.
Rob Dial had said that. It's like you are meant to you are here where you're supposed to be at this time. No shoulda,
Yeah.
woulda, coulda kind of thing.
Yeah. I think that's really true. And I think looking back, coming from a very churched background, we didn't talk about, women didn't talk about their roles outside the church, business adventures, pursuing a career. I wish that I had a lot more confidence back then talking
Mm-hmm.
about why I was doing what I was doing, the importance of it, how much I was helping families, how much I was helping relieve stress and lead them along this process. Because the connections that my mom and I built with those families and the success that we help them navigate that process with was a really important piece of those families' lives. And I wish I
Yeah.
had understood then how proud I should be of that instead of shrinking away from it, afraid of what that was going to look like or what that was going to feel like in the bigger scheme of things. So I
Yeah.
wish that I had had more confidence in talking about shouting it from the mountaintops, as my friend Kat Torrey likes to say.
Yeah.
Shout it from the mountaintops. Be proud of your successes and what you can bring to the team. I wish I'd had that confidence back then that I did now. I think it would have grown my business and helped me feel like I was successful a lot sooner than I felt that I was
Mm-hmm.
successful.
And success is different for everybody.
Yeah.
And success is a very difficult word, because I see a
Yeah.
lot of people who are quote unquote successful in the like financial world for the most
Yeah.
part, but their family or faith is disintegrating. And to
Yeah.
me, that's not sex. Or wow. Success. Holy moly. It's also not sex, but that's not success.
Yeah.
And on the flip side, somebody who has family health and those things, but not a lot of money, that's still success. So success
Yeah.
is a little bit different. And yeah, I wish I had the confidence I have now when I first
Yeah.
started, but that comes from experience. That comes
Yeah.
from trial and tribulations and failing. Because I
Yeah.
will tell you, I have failed so many more times than I have succeeded. And I have probably failed more than most agents who've been in the industry for 30 years, because I've taken risks. I've lost a lot of money, but you learn from them.
Yeah.
That's not a failure. That's intuition, and that's tuition, and that is just
Yeah.
part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I had We were talking just earlier about a success and failure stories. And 3 years ago, I had this couple that I met at an open house that for a listing that I had just brought on. And they asked me to come and take a look at their house and maybe be their real estate agent. And we talked through it. We actually found them a property. We got it under contract with a home sale contingency. I got their house. I pulled in all the favors that I could from my team. We got it on the market in less than a week. And the day that we were going on the market, the husband said, I won't do this unless we go $200,000 more than what you suggest. And I was I was stunned and I felt really backed into a corner, and I didn't stand up to him because I didn't want to lose on everything I had just invested in getting this ready. So I thought, okay, we'll try it. And we chased the market downhill. It was heading into the fall season. It was not a great time to sell here in the Seattle area. And we eventually ended up pulling it off the market, and they lost the home that they wanted to. And I felt like a huge failure. I don't know exactly what success would have looked like in that scenario, but
Yeah.
for a long time, that felt like my biggest failure because I hadn't listened to myself. I
Yeah.
knew that I really only wanted clients who trusted me. And I could tell that he was a doctor. He definitely felt like he knew more about my job than I did. And I didn't stand up to him like I knew I
Yeah.
should have. And I was disappointed in myself for doing that. So I felt like a
Yeah.
failure more than anything because I hadn't stayed true to what I knew I should do in that situation. And everybody lost out on that. But I stayed in touch with them. I continued to send them some different properties and ideas and holiday drop bys and all of that stuff. And about 6 months ago, they reached back out to me and I met with them again. Their situation had changed. They were doing something different. And I felt like this was the redemption that
Yeah.
I was hoping for.
Yeah.
And then 2 days before we listed it, the husband was going through cancer treatment and he passed.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was just a roller coaster of emotions. And I walked through the next couple months. This literally closed yesterday. This transaction closed yesterday. And we
Wow.
had so many hiccups, so many bumps in the road. They had two daughters they were navigating the grief with, the move. They were moving over to Michigan to be with family. We still continued a couple weeks later. We put it on the market because the husband had made it really clear that he wanted his wife to be with family, to have a
Hmm.
support system. And so we
Hmm.
continued with the process. But oh my goodness, what a huge transition we went through, and that
Yeah.
I felt so privileged to be able to walk alongside of the wife and what she was going through, and to to really partner with her in that. And I think that even though it was a really tough end to that 3 year story, it was still a success. And I know that she was on the phone yesterday. I am so thankful for you. I'm so grateful that you stuck with us and you understood what Mike and I were going through. And I don't know how I could have done this without you. And
Yeah.
that's when you know everything that you're doing, all of the crying over, how you don't know where this is going to go and the frustration. And I was dealing with an agent on the other side who had never done a transaction before. So the amount of work that went into it, we had title issues, we had neighbor issues,
Oh my
we had
gosh.
delays in closing because the buyer switched loan programs at the end and then she went out of the country. So she was signing at an embassy in Armenia and then docs had to get FedEx back. There was so many bumps in the road. And to
Wow.
still have your client after all of that be so appreciative of all that
Mhm.
you worked through that with them, because it's a very stressful
Yes.
process. And this was a
Yes.
very stressful transaction in every way, shape, or form that it could be. And
Yeah.
just to know that I have a friend and a trusted client who will continue to say great things about me for years to come because of how I walked through that with her.
Wow. Yeah. And honestly, I truly believe it's not always the easy transition or transactions that people
Yeah.
appreciate more. It's things like that where you stick with it,
Yeah.
you stay through the thick of it and the ups and the downs and the stressors. And a lot of people don't realize how much actually goes on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times we don't share the stuff that is actually going on because really
No.
there's no point if you don't have to bring it to their attention because
Yeah.
there's usually a lot of like, ooh, we're getting close to maybe falling apart, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
talk to the client about this until I
Uh-huh.
know for sure. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
maybe
Yep.
that sounds bad to anybody who's been buying or selling. Like they may want to know everything, but sometimes you don't. You
No.
don't want to know all the stressors that go
And a
on
lot of
behind the
times you don't want to
scenes.
present that to the client until you actually have a solution. So you could be
100%.
like
Yes.
literally days working through a problem, trying to figure out
Yes.
how all the pieces are going to fit together. And it's not that you're withholding information, it's that you don't want to come to them with a problem. You want
Without
to
a
come to them with a
solution.
solution. And
Mm-hmm.
until you have that figured out, there's no reason to stress them more than they are worrying. That's the
Right.
burden you take on. And
Yep.
sometimes that feels really heavy.
Yeah.
And sometimes that impacts every aspect of our lives. And I think that's the hardest thing for me with these tough transactions is not bringing it all home, bringing it all
Yes.
inside. Because I
Yes.
do, when you get that close to your clients and you care as much as you do, it's hard not
Mm-hmm.
to internalize all of that. And
Yeah.
so that's definitely finding that balance between bringing your work home with you, because this is a
Mhm.
24/7, 365
Yeah.
job, and you've got to be able to decompress and turn it off sometimes. And that's definitely not, definitely not my forte.
I know. Anybody who says they're able to like just leave work and go about their evening, God bless you because I don't know
Yeah.
how you do it. I'm trying to get better at it or at least putting my phone and stuff down to be a little bit more present, but
Yeah.
it's not always that way, especially when you have so much going on. And my husband's a
Yeah.
real estate agent as well. He's a land agent, and the last 2 years have been pretty slow for him. So he's gotten a little bit more like I don't want to say upset, but say, hey, can we get off your phone and stuff like that?
Yeah.
A little bit more. Now his business is really picking up.
Mm.
And I'm just like sitting back and smiling. Babe, you're on your phone. What are
Uh-huh.
you
Comes
doing?
full circle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, my brain just doesn't operate the way yours does. I'm like, probably because men's
Uh-huh.
don't, but
No.
like the way that how much you have going on is how I have been like constantly over the last 5 years. So
Yeah.
you need to give me a little bit of props for even I take the
Yeah.
kids to school every single day. I still coach them in their sports
Yeah.
activities. I pick them up at least 3 days a week. I'm home like almost every single evening. Once in a while, I'll have some appointments here and there in the evening. But most of the time, like I've just gotten to the point where I don't have to meet with somebody at 7, 8 o'clock at night. I'm not going to. They're going to have to make time for me. If I absolutely need to, yes. But most of the time, people are making time to meet with me during the day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it is a nice feeling to be able to get to that point because otherwise, as a new agent, you're doing anything and everything and jumping anytime somebody calls or texts you, and you're like, oh, yeah,
Pick me,
it's a little
pick me, pick
stressful.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. That
Yep.
is so true. But yeah, it's being able to like work through all those problems and those challenges. Obviously, you've been in the business for a long time. Like you said, you had a little one when you started and you had another one on the way. How did that look like for you? Was that more part time when the kids were little and then it evolved into full time, or what did that look like for you?
Yeah, I think I worked it full time. I made a part-time income, if that makes
Oh, yeah.
sense. As you're
Yep.
building, you're doing a lot more. You're
Mhm.
trying to figure out your path. I invested a lot of time and energy to grow the business. I don't know that we were as successful financially, income-wise at that time, but I
Mhm.
certainly was working it more full time, but the hours were different. The
Yeah.
feel of it was different. I was still trying to do everything at home that a wife and a mom would normally do while trying to grow this baby business from the ground up. And so I think that there was just there was a different kind of stress back
Yeah.
then of trying to balance it all and be there and not sacrifice time with the kids. But I knew, and looking back at it now, I'm able to look back and see 2020 hindsight that I built a business that both of my grown girls are now really proud of.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty cool thing to be able to say. I'll be 50 next month and with grown kids, knowing that they look at me and they admire and respect what I did and
Mhm.
what I grew, and that taught them a lot. And they have memories of being with me and accompanying
Oh.
me on stuff too, and having to go or having to take phone calls and pop out of a dance convention that I went to with my daughter to do stuff. But I was
Mhm.
present, I was there, and I showed them a lot about what grit and determination and strength and composure and professionalism and all of that looks like in a sea of some tough people that you're working with that are not always the most experienced or not always the most collaborative or communicative, and to try
Mhm.
and improve each of those and improve the business is something I'm really proud of, and I can see it reflected in them, and that's a really cool thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And just teaching kids about the value of a dollar. And even if
Yeah.
you have the money, not just giving your kids anything and everything that they want, like still encouraging them to work for it. So, like, my
Yeah.
daughter started her own little bracelet business. She's 10.
Yeah.
When she starts it, I mean, it's more like me. So, it's like my second part time job, holy moly, or my part time job, just
Uh-huh.
keeping up with all that because she doesn't get technology. So she has to use my phone or I have to be the one to text people. What's one thing that you wish you would have done as a new agent that would have grown your career a little bit differently? Or is there anything?
I think and I'm still trying to figure out how to scale this better. I think I would have hired somebody to do my transaction coordination a
Oh,
lot
game
sooner.
changer.
Oh my gosh, just to
Game
not have to worry about
changer.
the deadlines and the signatures and to have somebody take care of that piece of it, because ultimately I never looked at this business as what am I good. I'm a firstborn type A borderline OCD. Like I
Yeah.
always felt like I'm pretty good at all of these pieces of my job. It's a matter of bandwidth.
Yeah.
So, what do I want to give up? What do I want to give up? And how is somebody going to do it as well as I do it, or with the kind of compassion and same communication style as I do? So, I was really hesitant to give any of that up. And there's been a lot of growing pains. And the gal that I have now is doing a great job. But still, even just yesterday, hey, that looked like a very automated email. Remember, everything we're doing
Yeah.
is personalized. It's all, I know that you have a process, but we've got to be able to be flexible with the process
Yes.
in order to communicate in the way that my clients are communicated with.
Yeah.
And so I wish that I would have figured out how to differentiate what I was really good at versus what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I could have handed some of that stuff off and probably scaled my business while keeping a little bit more time. And for me, scaling it doesn't mean like growing it. It means having balance in my life.
Yes.
And that's the biggest difference, I think, that I would have done earlier.
Like viewing it as what is your return on time, not just your
Yeah.
return on investment. And then I think a lot of times people want to focus like, hey, what are your weaknesses? All right, let's work on those. No, those are my weaknesses. I don't want to understand. I'm not a detail oriented person, not at all. Complete opposite of type A. I'm not an OCD person. So I need somebody who is, because I make
Yeah.
mistakes, I make errors. So I need somebody on my team who
Yeah.
is a little bit more detail oriented, because I am like a bigger vision kind of person. I need other
Yeah.
people to do the things in between that will
Yeah.
get me to where my goal is. And it's a village, just like they say, it's a village to raise children. It's a village to
Yeah.
grow a business. You cannot do it alone. And
No.
delegating, I have a virtual assistant who
Yeah.
does all of my social media marketing.
Yeah.
Love it.
Me
Makes
too. I wish that I had, and I don't even think, you look back and you go 10 years ago, there was no like full-time virtual assistants. Like that just
uh-huh.
wasn't even a thing. But I'm so grateful for her now, because the amount of
Mm-hmm.
stuff that she not just takes off my plate, but the amount of stuff that she proactively initiates for me that I wouldn't even know to think how to use a different platform of AI, or like how to create a posting schedule, or even how to edit video, all of this stuff that is completely out of the realm of what a real estate agent job is supposed to entail. She's not either she's already good at it, or she has the time and resources to figure out how to get good at it. And
Yep.
that's just something, I have only so much capacity to learn new things right now and to try and figure out how to be. It's one thing to record and think of things to post and
Sounds
videos,
awful.
but to edit everything and then to figure out how and when to post it and how to do it differently for different platforms, and whether you do
Yeah.
use hashtags or don't, and everything changes. I
Sounds
can't keep
awful.
up. So
No.
to
Yeah.
have somebody who can do that is a huge help. So my transaction coordinator and my full-time virtual assistant now have been total game changers, and I wish that I had that earlier on, because I think it would have
Mhm.
made a big difference in my balance.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree. And I like how you said it's not a balance of growing more necessarily, it's freeing up your time.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I have written here on my desk is what my goal is worth per hour necessarily. So then the way I look at things is, okay, if I have something going on, can I delegate that and pay somebody quite a bit less than what my hourly wage is considered? So, like, I have
Yeah.
my own professional photographer, I have my own staging consultant who will go in, meet with my clients. She'll actually stage the properties as well. I cover that as part of my commission costs.
Yep.
All those things, like, because I've had people like, do you stage your own homes? No, I'm not. That's not my thing. I'm terrible at it. I know my weaknesses. Not even going to go there.
Yeah. My mom and I used to do that back in the day. We had an entire, like, both of the third bays of our garage were filled.
Oh
And
my
after a
gosh.
while, it was like both my dad and my husband were like, are we going to get our garages back? And they were our like ground crew. And there was a couple of couches. I remember we had this blue and white couch that was so heavy. It was this monstrosity, and they moved it into one house, and they were like, this couch is staying with the home. We are not moving this out. We didn't do it. We had hand-me-down stuff.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't with the intention of like, how heavy is, what is the logistics of how we're
Yeah,
going to
what looks
move
good is more so.
any of this. Yeah, we would stage and decorate it like we would our own home, not really taking into consideration all that it took to get it there and get it back out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a lot.
no staging anymore. Yeah, definitely something. And I'm just like, I have a great staging consultant and a partner, and she goes in and does the whole thing, and I cover that as part of my commission fees too, just because I believe so strongly. And that's the thing, you get to a point in your career where you go, I have a team, I have a process,
Mhm.
know what works, I know how this is going
Yep.
to go. And even though you personalize it for every client, there's still certain steps that are
Yes.
going to make this a positive experience. And whether
Yes.
that hopefully is for the client and for the long-term outcome as well, what works. And you've got to figure out how that works, and that you've got a team in place to take that all the way to the end.
And it's a lot about the prep work. It's not about the amount
Mhm.
of work. Like people don't pay me necessarily for my time. They pay me for my knowledge, expertise, my negotiation skills. But
Yeah.
a lot of the work, honestly, comes in advance. Like
Yeah.
I know what to do. I know we need to do this. We need to do that. We need to stage it. We need to do professional photos, especially like the market that we're in. It's not a heavy sellers market anymore. So there
Yeah.
needs to be a lot more work up front to really push it out there to get the sellers obviously top dollar for their home. So one of the questions that I have is obviously you've been in the business for a long time. Do you get a lot of repeat referrals then from clients?
Yeah, I actually looked back. I did an evaluation, full analysis on my business last year, and a full 94% of my business comes directly from past referrals or client referrals to their friends. I just closed a transaction for a client. I've done 12 transactions for him
Wow.
over the last 16 years. So, yes, that's definitely, and that's why I lean so heavily into staying in touch with them, and the touch points, the holiday gifts, the newsletters, the emails, the just making sure that I stay in really close touch with them. Because the thing you don't want to hear, and this definitely happened early on, was, oh, I forgot you were in real estate, or I didn't realize you did it.
Uh-huh.
And
Uh-huh.
again, that was because I wasn't talking about it. I didn't want to be that person in the room where everybody would go, oh, there's Kristy. If you don't want to talk about real estate,
Yeah.
stay away. I never wanted to be that person. I
Oh,
want
I'm
people to
that
come to
person.
me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. No, we make eye contact, you're writing an offer, or we're signing a listing.
Yeah. And I can appreciate that. And now that I'm older, and my focus has changed, and my goals are a little bit different, that I'm not a full-time mom anymore. The reality is, my time is divided. I have more time to devote to my career, and I've got some big aspirations for what that looks like for the next few years. But I now don't mind being that person in the room that
Mhm.
talks about real estate, that is very invested in making
Yeah.
sure that I have the answers to people's questions, that I've
Mhm.
got, if I don't know it, that I've got a team of people that I can go to that does, but that I come in with some really valid resources, and that people trust that I know what I'm talking about. And so they come to me. I'm not seeking them out. It's them coming to me because they know that I've got a handle on what's going on.
Yeah. And them and clients being able to trust you is like the biggest compliment aside from
Yeah.
referrals and repeat
Yeah.
referrals and
Yeah.
stuff. But it really is. I've had clients who I didn't even know, but somebody had referred them over to me, and well, everything is electronically signatures and stuff. And I'll never forget I had
Yeah.
one set of clients that we ended up making like offers on 3 or 4 different homes. We obviously listed their house contingent upon the sale and stuff, but not one time did they really even review the documents. And I know that is because they're like, oh, just go ahead and sign for us. Because when you sign, they get a copy of every single document and stuff like that. I'm like, how about you review this? I'm still human. Like, I still make
Uh-huh.
mistakes. So how about you review it? They're like, no, we trust you. I'm like, okay. It worked out really well. But I was like,
Yeah.
okay, sounds good.
A lot of pressure. A lot of
Yeah, a lot
pressure.
of pressure and stuff like that. So what do you think that it is that you do? Because I'm sure that you probably have like systems and processes and stuff like that. But what is it that you do to stay in touch with your past clients?
I think I think I'm a really good listener, first and foremost. So I pay a lot of attention to what is it that they say. If their kids are about to go into high school, I know where they're at and the timeline of things, and where they spend their time and their energy. And
Mhm.
so I think meeting them where they're at, because I know about their family and their timeline and all of that, I think makes it really easy to
Mhm.
figure out how to really connect with them even after the sale is done.
Yeah.
I think probably one of my favorite things, and I was just talking to a client yesterday whose house is closing today, and I said, will you promise me that you and Kelly will invite me over to see what you've done to this house? Because that's my
Right.
favorite part about this whole experience, is getting to go back in 6 months later,
Yeah.
a year later, and see what your clients have done to this house, that they had all these dreams and ideas, and just
Hmm.
see their vision come to life that you helped to initiate, but that they've now made a home. And I
Yeah.
love the idea of that. And my client Nicole, she was like, oh yeah, as soon as we have the sewer and this, and they're going to get a bunch of stuff done. But she said, at least by the holidays, we'll have you come over and see. And I literally can't wait for that. And so
Yeah.
continuing those conversations, continuing to communicate and talk to them. And if they've gone away, I've got clients that I have these ladies that moved down to California, and I know Brenda really loves the kitschy knickknack kind of stuff. And Leora, if I don't send her chocolates, like, she will be upset. So you just get to learn and understand and know what people like. And
Uh-huh.
every time I send that stuff, it is just another reminder that I know them, I care about
Yeah.
them, I remember things about them that stuck with them. And I get notes and birthday cards and all kinds of stuff from clients because they appreciate the little things that I do that show that I still really care.
So when you're sending those, are you using like a website for it, or are you like actually going out buying this stuff and mailing it yourself?
Yeah. I've done it both ways. For the last few years, I had a gal that did custom closing gifts, and we would, every holiday time in the fall, we would decide on like a scent that we would base everything around for our holiday gifts to all of my clients. And a lot of those, everything that's local, I hand deliver. If it's out of the area or out of the state, she would mail them for me, but we would do everything really consistently, just because it made more sense to do it that way. Before, I would literally do individual gifts for people, and that, again, you kind of have to go time versus bandwidth, like what really makes the most sense here.
Yeah.
But for my out of state clients, when I'm mailing stuff, I don't necessarily do, depending on the weight of the item and whether it makes sense. I've got a couple clients, because we're here in wine country here outside of Seattle, that I know appreciate a nice bottle of wine. So I'll send something to them that are out of state that maybe reminds them of the
Right.
house that they left or the area that they left,
Mhm.
because it's from a local winery and I know that will
Mhm.
mean the most to them. So I think, again, it's the intentionality of making
Yeah.
sure that you're doing something for that client that shows that they weren't just a check mark on a
Yeah.
box that you
Yes.
checked off, that it says, I took the time, I thought about you, I know you love Sparkman Vineyards, and here's a bottle of their latest release. And it's
Yeah.
not expensive and it's not hard to do. It does take some time and energy, but I feel like that's the part that's easy
Yeah.
for me, is
Yeah.
figuring out how to meet them where they're at and understanding what it is that they'll like and really appreciate.
So for me, that's probably the harder part. Like I listen to
Yeah.
people, like I can build rapport pretty quickly, but it's not that I don't realize like what to do. It's executing and
Yeah.
actually doing the thing. So like for me, I had to find, okay, what is something that I can not necessarily streamline, but
Yeah.
utilize that is going to make an impact, but I'm not going to forget it. So I use a couple different platforms where I can purchase the gifts and have the gifts directly sent to
Yep.
them. For
Yeah.
me, that's what's easiest, even if it is maybe a little bit more expensive. But for
Yeah.
me, that's what's easiest because I have found that if I put it on my to-do list, it won't ever get done. And
I
for
know.
me, procrastination has been like my biggest weakness.
Yeah.
I am on top of things. I like to do things right away. But if I put it on my to-do list, sometimes it gets forgotten, and I don't
Yeah.
want to do that.
Yeah. Every year when it comes, I try and deliver holiday gifts to local people. And when I say local, I have clients, I'm in the east side of Seattle in Sammamish. I have clients all the way up north in Lake Stevens, which is like an hour and a half north of here. I've got clients down in
Hmm.
Maple Valley, which is over an hour south of here. I've got east and west. So local is a pretty big territory.
Yeah.
And every year when I get these gifts put together and I have the names on them and they're all sitting in my dining room and I've got just under 100 of them, I look at them and I think, why do I do this to myself every
Yeah.
year? I'm like planning out maps. I'm determining how many hours I'm going to be driving in any day. And yet at the end of that, I always look back and I go, These people invited me into their homes. I got to catch up with so many of these people. I am staying up to date on what's going on in their lives. This one, their mother passed. This one, their daughter graduated high school. Like, a lot of the gifts I drop off on people's doorsteps, but there's several people that have said, when you bring something by at the holidays, will you let us know when you're coming so that we can invite you in? They'll pour me a glass of wine. They'll pour me a cup of coffee. It really has become a really important way for me to stay connected, especially to those clients that mean the most or that have given me a lot of referrals. You just want to continue to take the time and spend with them. And that has proven to be one of the best ways for me to do that. And so even though I look at those boxes and I think I've got to figure out how to do this differently, I look back after it and I go, that was worth it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I absolutely would agree. And so many agents are so focused on the next transaction or
yeah.
paying for different leads that they forget to actually take care of their clients and
Yeah.
past clients. But
Yep.
that's honestly where follow up, I've always said this, follow up, whether it's a new client or a past client, is really where the money is at. That is where the
Yeah.
gratitude is at. That is where the appreciation is at. It's all in the follow up. And I cannot
Yeah.
stress that enough. And that's not going to be just in the real estate business. Like a friend of mine, he has a doctor's office, and my kids went to the dentist. And when you go to the dentist, you get all these toys, like junk toys, don't get me wrong, that will go in the trash eventually, but the kids love it. They're like, oh, what toy
Yeah.
do I get it to go?
Uh-huh.
So then our doctor, I said to him, I said, why do doctors not give these little toys out? You know what I mean? Like sometimes they'll
Yeah.
give stickers, but that's not like kids
Yeah.
don't really care as much. And so I talked to him about that. I said, you guys should really like just get janky toys and then
Yeah.
have these kids pick it out because it's all about the experience. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just like it is in real estate, but even in the doctor's office when you're going in there for shots, if you can make this experience a little bit less stressful and a little bit less traumatic for kids,
Yeah.
it's a game
Yeah.
changer. The last time we were in there, they had toys. I was like, oh yeah, hell yeah.
Look
Like
at you
he's like,
changing
I've
the
never
whole game of the doctor's
He's like, I've
office.
never thought about that. I'm like, yeah, you go to a dentist office. That's the thing. Every dentist office that you go to is handing out toys. Why do
Yeah.
doctors not do it?
Yeah.
So I said that to him, and yep, sure enough, they had a basket of toys for the kids to pick out, and it was just amazing for my
Yeah.
kids.
I
So
think you hit the nail on the head. So much about real estate and so many other industries, it's about the experience. It's about the experience that you have through the process. And I work really closely with a local builder here, and he brought me onto a site of 23 luxury homes in the area. And he said, I need to do something different. I need you to figure out how to do something different. And I said, here's the disconnect. You are forgetting that people buy houses subjectively. They have a criteria, they have an objective criteria. Yes, does it have this many bedrooms? Is it this amount of square feet? Does it have space for this? But when they walk in, they want to feel something. They want to feel like this is home. They want to feel that this is right. They want to see where they're going to entertain their family, where they're going to host holidays, where their kids' movie nights are going to be. They are going to buy subjectively. And so you have to think about the buyer experience. I think that's a huge part that is missing when you look at these. When you look at this industry as a transactional based industry, you forget that people make decisions based on emotion in real estate.
very much.
And very much. And you see this time and time again, and it gets a bad rep for being like the wife or the woman's drive emotionally, but men fall in love with things too. They have just as much input into this. And a lot of times it's because they see and feel what their partner sees and feels. That's still emotion, whether it's them falling in love with the house or them falling in love with the feeling that their family has. It's still all about emotion and experience. And if you can create from the moment they walk in the door, it's all about their senses. From the time they drive up to when they walk in the door, they feel when they're walking through. It's the temperature, it's the smell, it's whether you have activities for their kids to do. It's creating an environment that makes them feel like this could be their home. And I think that's a really important piece. They don't teach that in real estate classes. You have to either want to provide that and understand how important that is and figure out what that means for each of your clients, or you just miss that step completely.
And I always tell my buyers, and I think that's why I'm able to not have to show buyers 100,000 different homes. But one of the things I tell them is, as ironic as this is and as crazy as this sounds, it generally takes about 8 seconds for you to know if it's the right one for you or not. If you walk into a house and you're just like, no, or if you walk and you're like, I can see myself. Yep. Like,
Yeah.
don't convince yourself. If it
Nope.
meets your criteria, but you walk in and you don't feel like it's the right one for you when you're buying, like you said, subjectively and for your family. And
Yeah.
if you're buying it as an investment, you're not going to
Yeah.
have those feelings. The numbers have to
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah.
But when you're buying for your family and you're upsizing or downsizing, whatever the case is,
Yeah.
you have like it's 8 seconds. It is
Yeah.
within 8 seconds whether you know it's the right one for you or not. And one of the things, so one of my last time I did an interview, one of the ladies, she goes above and beyond with her clients and everything that she does. But one of the things that she did was she had a coloring activity book created, personalized to her and her company. And so I just got it done. I am so excited. I didn't get them printed yet. I don't know if I'm able to share this with you. It is the cutest thing in the entire world.
Oh,
Okay, share screen. Let me see this. I'm going to show it. Are you okay with me
okay.
showing this to you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It is the cutest thing in the entire world. I'm so excited. But just something so small,
Yeah.
this can make such a big difference because I do work with a lot of families. I have little
Yeah.
kids, so that's what the
Yeah.
area that I'm in. And I'm like, this is, oh
It's so
gosh.
funny that you say that, Shae, because I literally just created an activity book for this builder for the site where we did like a mock-up of a house on the front, and we did the signage to match the vintage, the builder's signage, and then inside we activities and like a find different things in the house to keep them occupied, and different coloring and word searches and like all of that for this builder's site that
Yeah,
matched the kind of style and feel.
that is awesome. Can
Oh
you
my
see
gosh.
this? Is this not the cutest thing ever?
Oh my goodness.
I know. Isn't
I
it the
love it.
cutest thing? And then, like it says, draw yourself in a superhero costume. What does your moving day hero outfit look like? And then saying goodbye to your current home, whether they're selling it or they live in a rental. But then the
Yeah.
next thing is circle the things in the picture that belong in a clean house.
Oh,
And then you can color me.
yeah.
Draw what you hope your new room will look like. Do you want bright colors, a big window, and then here's a little maze?
Yeah.
And is this not the cutest thing in the entire world?
Oh, I love it. That,
Yeah, I was so excited. I don't know how to get rid
yep.
of this now. But yeah, just little things like that. I don't know how to stop. See, technology is not my thing. But just little things like that can make such a difference in the experience when you're helping somebody through the entire transaction. Not just your knowledge,
Yeah.
but little things like that. Hey, instead of I bring a folder every time I go to a listing or buyer consultation anyway, and if I see that they have kids, oop, look at that. I'm going to give that to them. How cute. I'm
Yep.
so excited. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
But
No, it's huge. And they feel that you want to take care of them. And
yes.
that is ultimately what builds those relationships, that creates those
Mhm.
referrals, that creates those clients for life. It's that they know that, and you can't just do it being a new agent, because you have to have the experience and the knowledge to back it up. That's not
Yeah.
something you can fake.
Yeah.
But once you have that, and I'm so privileged that I do have the years of experience that I do, I have what it takes to back up the relationships that I'm building
Mhm.
with the experience that I have in this industry. And that's
Yeah.
the beauty of where I'm at in my career right now, is I feel
Mhm.
like all of those pieces have fit together. And that's what I'm trying to build with. I mentor some new agents, and that's what I'm trying to instill in them is this is not, if you are in this for a transactional reason, like this is going to
Mhm.
be a very short career for you. But if
Right.
you want to
Yes.
build something that will
Mhm.
sustain you, that will get you
Mhm.
through various different seasons and times in your life, you build it differently. You build it right from the ground up, and you start
Yeah.
by building relationships. And that's at the core of your business. And so many of them are coming from different industries into real estate, and they're bringing such a vast and varied set of skills and abilities that they have to figure out how to utilize those to build
Mhm.
those relationships too. And it's not
Yeah.
just, you don't just come into a new industry and start cold. You've got to figure out what are your superpowers and how do I use these now to propel my business.
Yeah.
So,
Yes, absolutely. Kristi, as we wrap up, I always like
yeah.
to ask every one of my guests, what is one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self, or maybe somebody new who's in getting into the real estate world?
This is something that I tell all of the people that I'm mentoring and the younger agents, and I wish that I had known this, or maybe I was told and I just didn't listen, was figure out what about this job really excites you,
Mhm.
and lean heavily into that, and figure out how to either partner with or offload the things, because you will continue to procrastinate, and this job it has to be a full circle. There are too many pieces of the puzzle for you to be dropping things
Yeah.
that you've got to figure out how to either take care of the things you're good at and offload the things that you're not, or partner with somebody who can balance out your skills and abilities with theirs. And you will
Yes.
find a lot more success and balance in life if you do it that way.
And happiness. It just makes your life happy. You just are just so
Absolutely.
much happier when you don't have to do the things that you don't want to do. There are other people out there like paperwork. I don't like the transaction side of things. It's not
Yeah.
my thing. I don't enjoy
Yep.
it. Somebody else does. Don't know why,
Yep.
but they do.
Yep,
Oh,
exactly. Yep. And
yeah.
figure out what that looks like. And a lot of times people, especially as this does take an investment. If you're going to do it well and you're going to do it right, you've got to figure out a budget and a marketing plan and a business plan. And there's so many people who just wing it in this
Yeah.
industry and they don't treat it like a business. If you
Yeah.
don't treat it like a business, it is not going to sustain you like a
Correct.
business.
Correct.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Awesome, Kristy. I truly appreciate it. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Real Moms. I hope you loved today's conversation with Kristi Jenkins. Be sure to check out her work and connect with her. Kristy, where can they connect with you online?
Everything is Kristi Jenkins Real Estate. So my handle on social media, my website, KristiJenkinsRealEstate.com and at Kristi Jenkins Real Estate.
Awesome. So be sure to check it out, connect with her. And as a reminder, if this episode encouraged you, please hit that subscribe button, leave us a 5-star review, and share it with another mom who's building her dreams. Your support not only helps this podcast grow, but it also helps incredible women like Kristy get their stories heard. So remember, you are resilient, you are capable, and you are made for an abundant life. Never hesitate to reach out, and I want to help you however I can. Until next time, keep going. You've got this. And that wraps up another inspiring episode of the Real Moms Podcast. A huge thank you to our incredible guests for sharing their story and insights today. If you found value in today's conversation, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And hey, sharing is caring, right? Share this podcast with your fellow mompreneurs, friends, and anyone who you feel could use a dose of inspiration. Share it on your social media as well. But most importantly, if you found this episode helpful, please, please, please leave me a 5-star review. This helps get our information out to those who have never heard or seen us before. Are you feeling inspired and you're sure that you could add some value to the podcast? Shoot me a message and let's talk. We love hearing from you. So connect with us on social media. Tag me at Shae J Spitz. That's ShaeJSpitz. And share your thoughts and takeaways, or even suggest topics you'd like to have us explore more in the future episodes. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. Your resilience is your strength, and your pursuit of abundant living is truly remarkable. As always, keep thriving, keep growing, and keep embracing the beautiful chaos of being a mompreneur. Until next time, take care, stay real, and keep living abundantly.